morning. Good morning. During an interview in 1968, a reporter asked David Ben-Gurion, Israel's founding father, if he believed Israel was living up to its full potential, if it was truly a light unto the nations. David Ben-Gurion's response, not yet. What a simple, elegant, poignant statement. And I don't think it was a criticism. I think it was the ultimate expression of optimism. That sense of not yet drives so many aspects of the nation of Israel. They've not yet shown the world the full greatness of their entrepreneurial spirit. They have more to teach, more to give, more to share. Today, we'll showcase innovation and partnership. And even though the answer remains not yet, let's see just how far the people of Israel have come. For our first innovation today, we're going to start small, feeding the world. We're on the brink of a global crisis. The population is exploding, the world is facing massive food shortages, and it's running out of the water we need to grow more. Cape Town, South Africa is projected to run out of water as soon as this summer. So this year, we'll hear from an Israeli innovator who's disrupting the agricultural industry and saving billions of gallons of water in the process. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome out our first Israeli innovator, Tomer Sach of CropX. Tomer, well, welcome and thank you for bringing R2D2's head. What is this and what is CropX?
So first of all, I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for having me. And no, this is not the droid that you've been looking for. This is a soil sensor. CropX's solution is both hardware and software. So this is a sensor that farmers put in the ground, and it transmits data from the soil through the cloud to the software piece, which is an app on their phone. So essentially, they get this by mail, install it by themselves in 5 minutes, and almost instantly know more about their soil and about their farm than they've ever known before. So by providing this information, we're able to help them save on water, save on fertilizer application, and increase yields.
Well, so let's stick on the saving water. How much water are we saving? What are we talking?
Well, a lot. And I'll just give you an example. You know, when you're flying across the United States, you take a look at the ground, you see these circular-shaped fields on the ground. They look like polka dots. So those are created by what?
Aliens.
Yes, aliens, but also an irrigation method called pivot irrigation. Pivot irrigation is the most widespread irrigation method in the United States. Now, a pivot is this huge sprinkler. It's 1/4 mile long.
Wait, I'm sorry, I have to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a sprinkler that's 1/4 mile long, which means from that hall, the end of this hall, to the end of that wall, and then farther. That is one sprinkler.
True. Turns around in a circle and pumps 1,000 gallons of water per minute. 1,000 gallons of water per minute from the beginning of the planting season in April all the way until harvesting in August. So
I'm sorry, every minute, every hour, every day.
And it's a big deal because there are 400,000 of those in the United States, and the United States is drying up. So we're able to help that with this technology by essentially telling the farmers, listen, you have enough water in the ground at the moment, you can stop the pivot. And you can stop the pivot for 2 days, 3 days, many times up to 10 days in a season. Just by doing that for one pivot, we're able to save 15 million gallons of water.
One pivot.
One pivot.
It's unbelievable. So, but wait, but it's not just about saving water. It's about increasing the productivity as well.
Yes, increasing yield. So by being able to prevent over-irrigation on one hand and prevent under-irrigation on the other hand, and also optimize fertilizer, we're able to boost yields. And we estimate that we can increase yields by up to 8%.
Wow. And so, yes. Again, 8%. I can't tell if that's a lot, if that's a little.
Well, I agree that it might not sound like much, but if you just take, for example, the corn production, the annual corn production of the United States, 8% of that is enough corn grains to fill 1 million semi-trailers with corn. So you line those up, you get from here to Jerusalem, back here, and back to Jerusalem again.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people we could feed. Who are the farmers here in the United States you're helping?
So we essentially started selling this year in 2017, and we're already deployed almost across the United States. You can see on the map right now. Naturally, most of our installations are in the breadbasket areas, the corns, the potatoes, and so forth. But we have apple growers in Washington. We have grape growers at Napa. We have vegetable growers in Salinas. So it's a good start.
Any Californians here? Yeah. They're appreciative. Look, but I want to put a finer point on what we're talking about. I don't know how many people saw this, but there was an article last week in the Wall Street Journal that talked about the status of the American farm and farmer. And it talked about the fact that a significant number of farmers had to work second or third jobs just to stay on their land. And it's an incredible story. So,
yeah, and I totally relate with that because, you know, when CropX was built with this huge vision of saving the world's water and feeding the world's growing population. But from our experience this year, at the end of the day, it's about the individual farmer. And, you know, it's exciting for us to see that we have so many farmers using this for different kind of use cases. So for some, it's about saving water. For some, it could be about being able to comply with USDA regulation. And in certain cases, it could really about being able to provide livelihood and about saving the farm.
It's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about saving billions of gallons of water, helping American farmers. We're choosing to feed one Israeli sensor at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Tomer Sach.
Thank you.
Everyone in this room knows, and some of you I know personally experienced some of the most devastating natural disasters in our history. Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Maria, deadly wildfires, and mudslides across California. For first responders thrust into these emergencies, knowledge and awareness meant the difference between saving a life or losing one. Our next innovator took something very simple, a video game made for drones, and realized he had the potential to revolutionize disaster relief. Let's welcome out our next Israeli innovator, Adam Kaplan from EdgeEB's and the CEO of FlyMotion, Ryan English. Welcome. Great to have you. Listen, let's just jump right in. Talk to us about EdgeEB's. Tell us how you're helping our first responders.
Well, drone pilots today, they lack a level of orientation during these missions. They have trouble flying and understanding where they're located. Essentially, they can be just looking at water and the tops of houses. So what do we need to do? We augment maps, distress signals, as well as the location of first responders and understanding where they need to find the people that they're looking for.
So you're talking about, in essence, this is Waze for disaster relief efforts.
Yeah, so we are mapping aerially over that drone video and allowing people to have the context over that video stream so they can make real-time decisions to help people.
And just so I understand, this isn't obviously just about floods. Where else can you deploy?
So in fact, the software's been deployed within a couple of dozen fire departments and police departments across the country. In fact, in Santa Rosa, up in the Northern California fires, there were 1,500 firefighters, there were helicopters, there were planes all over the place. So our software is essentially building intelligence on top of this video stream to help people. So as we all know, the Northern California fires needed this intelligence to help them.
Okay, but Ryan, I want to bring you now into this conversation. You personally oversaw drone operations in Florida after Hurricane Irma. Walk us through how you used the EdgeEB software and what it allowed you to accomplish.
Yeah, so my company, we did one of the largest drone responses to a disaster that we're aware of that's happened in the world. Deployed over 22 flight teams for about 2 weeks, doing over 650 missions, covering over 500 miles. What the EdgeEB software allowed us to do is to have a much more efficient operation, getting the critical infrastructure and such up to place, which of course allowed us to get hospitals, nursing homes, things like that, that obviously people's lives rely on, and getting that equipment back up in a time-efficient manner. So it really expedited the process.
Yeah, people's lives depended on this, and people's lives were saved as a result. So Adam, again, tell us, we were talking a little bit about where it's deployed, but where are we going to see EdgeEBs in the future going forward?
So we're focused right now on deploying in the thousands of public safety departments, but we're also taking it to the next level by going into the defense market, helping in the defense world, automobiles. We're seeing cameras everywhere, and the ability to put context over that video is helping on multiple verticals. So broadcasting, all of these things that we see today need that video and need that context on top of it.
I wish people here had the opportunity to see the videos where you literally are watching firefighters in which stairwell and rescuers on which street. The software is incredible. Gentlemen, Ryan, Adam, I do want to say thank you for joining us and sharing this amazing technology. When there is another disaster, I hope your technology is used and it is saving lives. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Throughout this conference, we're going to hear about one of the many very serious threats facing Israel today: terror tunnels. The IDF estimates that Hamas has invested millions and millions of dollars building tunnels in the Gaza Strip, many of them running into Israel. No one here needs a briefing on why these tunnels need to be stopped. It's only a question of how, and how quickly. Today, we have the unbelievable opportunity to hear from the man who is leading the team tasked with neutralizing this threat. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Major Itai. Whoa. Hello, big fella. You're not at all intimidating. Look, Itai, thank you for joining us. You're the head of the IDF's underground warfare section in the Ground Forces Technological Division. Good luck getting that on a business card. Just talk to us about the nature of the threat that we're facing.
All right. Well, we're talking about miles of networks of interconnected tunnels that are big enough that dozens of terrorists can pour through them, carrying guns, ammunition, RPGs. They're well-lit tunnels. They're paved. Basically, you can drive a motorcycle through them. They run underneath schools and hospitals and apartment buildings, so it's really a very complex threat.
Unbelievable. So what's the status of where we are now?
Well, it's really a threat that is growing every day. As we're sitting here in Washington, there are hundreds of men in Gaza digging tunnels right now. And they're digging several kinds of tunnels. But we decided to start by addressing the most urgent, the most immediate threat to IDF forces in the villages around the Gaza Strip, and that's the cross-border tunnels.
Okay, so Itai, you're in the innovation showcase. You don't seem to have brought any innovation. What are we showcasing here?
Well, I can't really talk in depth about the technology that we're using because...
You'd have to kill all 18,000 of us, yes, we know.
Well, it is classified. So the innovation is really the change of mindset. We realize that we don't have 10 years to sit around in a lab and test out new ideas. The next war could start any day, and we need a solution now.
All right, so tell us what that looks like.
Right, well, we really decided to learn by doing. And in that way to retain the flexibility to change what we do as we go along and learn more about the technology and the enemy. Eventually, we ended up putting the brightest people on the front line. We took the most awkward, stereotypically nerdy kind of people, and we literally strapped them into combat gear, took them out in the fields around the Gaza Strip, and said, "This is your new lab now."
And tell us, who are these people?
Well, we have an amazing, diverse team. We have geologists on there, we have intelligence officers on there, we have a couple of PhDs in their 50s, but we also have a 19-year-old corporal with a physics degree who we found fixing a truck in an Army auto repair shop.
Classic.
We have an infantryman who tore a ligament in training, and by now he can probably teach a college class in geophysics.
Okay, so it's Israeli revenge of the nerds. These men and women actually sound incredible.
Right. Well, personally I can tell you that I'm moved every day when I see these brave men and women out in the fields wearing bulletproof vests in harm's way and really very far away from where you would normally find them, which is, a college campus or a research lab someplace. These people have personally committed to tackle the problem until it's solved.
Okay, so you've found these people, you've crafted your team. Now what do you do with these amazing brains?
Well, we started by asking, what are the industries that we could learn from that face similar problems? And the obvious place to start was the oil and the mining industries. And we really learned a lot from those people. But eventually, we realized that there's some differences between what they're looking for and what we're looking for. You know, the oil industry searches at extreme depths of several miles, but they're looking for massive reservoirs, the bigger the better, right? Several miles across. We're looking for a much smaller target. We're looking for something that's less than a meter wide, you know, and it's not miles beneath the surface, more like a few dozen meters.
Right, so they're looking for literally football fields. This is Nikki Haley, our ambassador to the United Nations. Yeah. You'll want to hold your applause for about a day and a half, but we'll get there. But the point is, you're looking for something very, very small. So then what happens?
Right, well, the next phase was to approach, you know, our defense companies, such as Elbit Systems and Rafael, and they brought to the table ideas that they took from their traditional areas of expertise, and they migrated them into the area of underground warfare. And that has brought fairly good results.
Okay, and that's the input you needed.
Well, the source for ideas that I'm most proud of was something we received later. We received more than 400 viable suggestions from engineers and scientists from across Israel.
Unsolicited.
Right? Well, I guess everybody in Israel kind of sees it as their responsibility to pitch in, even if we
Tell
don't
you what
ask.
your job is, yes.
Right. Last, I think it's important to say to all of you that we had the help and resources of the United States in this, and that our breakthroughs will be there for the U.S. Armed Services.
Yes. But friends, I want to just say a word about what EdgeEB means. When Congress completes its work on this year's budget, Congress will have allocated $130 million over these past 3 years, which resulted in 17 different cooperative efforts to stop this tunnel threat. EdgeEB, yes. That is a thank you to you and to the United States Congress. EdgeEB, we have just a few moments left. Just talk to us about what gives you hope.
Well, eventually, you know, we managed to take all of these ideas and develop some completely new technologies that are now the beginning of a solution to the problem. Over the high holidays, our work started to pay off. We got a message from one of the officers in the team telling us that he detected a tunnel reaching inside Israel near one of the kibbutzim. We passed this information up the chain of command, and on October 30th, we had our very first success when the IDF detonated the first tunnel detected using
I actually
our
think,
solution.
I think we have footage of what we're discussing.
Right. This is it. Yeah, well, this operation was the first of several tunnels that have been destroyed over the past few months, and I can say that, you know, we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. That's humor in tunnel detection warfare units. Okay, but so we're starting to see some success. You're not all the way there. So what keeps you up at night?
Well, the answer to that one is pretty complicated, because if we were a startup company, you know, we'd say we have a viable product, we're doing great. But we're not a startup company, we're the IDF, and our enemies are relentless. That's what keeps me up at night. They're not going to be cowed with our recent success. I'm sorry to say they're innovating and they're sophisticated. And their engineers are now hard at work on ways to outwit us in this field of underground warfare, as well as above ground and in the air. And it's our job to work very hard to keep one step ahead of them.
EdgeEB, on behalf of a very grateful pro-Israel community, for everything you and your colleagues do, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Not at all intimidating. Okay, look, I'm not actually sure there's an elegant, delicate way to introduce this next topic, so bear with me. In an era of nuclear threats from North Korea and the looming danger of a nuclear-armed Iran, or even just a terrible accident or natural disaster at a nuclear facility, we have to be prepared for the worst of all catastrophes. And central to our success will be the need to protect our first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, the people who need to rush in to save lives and contain the disaster. But when the disaster is nuclear, there has never been a way to protect our best and our bravest from extreme radiation exposure. That is, until our next presenters found a way. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome out Tamar Nix and Oren Bilstein of STEMRAD. Tamar and Oren and your baby Bjorn, welcome here. Thank you for joining us. Oren, talk to us about what led you to create what I hope is not the baby Bjorn.
Thank you, Elliot. So it's actually a combination of two factors. The first being my PhD research, which led me to understand that it's enough to protect a small fraction of the body's bone marrow to get survival after exposure. The other factor was the ever-growing threat of a potentially nuclear Iran on my people in Israel. Ultimately, my call to action was the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, where first responders rushed into stricken reactors with zero protection from gamma radiation.
Okay, so this is the creation. Tell us what it is. Tell us what's unique about it.
So this is the world's first ever protection from gamma radiation, the first protective gear. To protect your whole body from gamma, you're looking at 1/4 of a ton of a suit, okay?
Right, and not very slimming, right?
Not very slimming, not like this beauty here.
Okay, Tamar, I want to bring you into this conversation as well. Talk to us about how this protects the body.
So this lifesaver called STEMRAD 360 Gamma, it protects selected area of the body, the pelvis, where you have about 50% of your bone marrow.
And 50% is all you need.
Actually, Elliot, a lot less, just 2.5%. If you can maintain survival of 2.5% of your body's bone marrow, you go on to regenerate your whole blood-forming system and survive after irradiation.
So you literally, with this device, over time, you can come back to a position where you become your own bone marrow donor. You don't need another donor. You don't need a hospital. You do this on your own.
That's right. And honestly, Elliot, had this been available to the Chernobyl firefighters back in the day, many of them would be alive today. Most of them would be.
Who's using this?
So it's already selling to militaries, firefighters, and first responders in the United States, in Israel, and around the world. And actually, this product is only a first of a range of solutions we're developing, from medicine to space exploration.
Okay, I'm not convinced everyone heard that, so let me just say it again. I think it is clear the utility for medicine. It's not totally clear what this has to do with space exploration.
So actually, Elliot, turns out that the major bottleneck in preventing mankind from landing on Mars is deep space radiation. So in a collaboration with Lockheed Martin, STEMRAD has developed the AstroRad radiation vest to protect astronauts venturing into deep space for the first time since 1972.
That's actually, okay, but so I hear you, yes. I heard you got good news this week.
Yeah, it's a very exciting week for us. We have a very exciting piece of news to share, that in a partnership with the Israeli Space Agency and the German Space Agency, NASA will be sending the AstroRad radiation vest around the moon in the first visit to the moon since 1972. Just next year, it's coming up.
Oren, Tamar, thank you for what you are doing, because you're preparing humanity for the absolute worst, but you are also helping us realize our greatest ambitions. I hope you are unbelievably proud.
We are, and I have something to say on a personal note. I'm a grandson of a Holocaust survivors, okay? For me, the prospect of a nuclear weapon in the hands of our enemies is absolutely the worst nightmare. On the other hand, working with NASA on their journey to Mars is essentially a dream come true for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oren and Tamar and STEMRAD.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had in these few minutes on this stage entrepreneurs and innovators, men and women who are changing the way we see the soil from which we grow and protecting the ground beneath our feet, who are guiding us through the sky overhead and mapping the stars. So when we ask the question, is Israel the best it can be? The answer is not yet, but just wait. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of the conference.